1969, the English Channel. In the churning waters of one of the world's busiest shipping lanes, a search and rescue team sets out on a desperate mission. Their goal, to find a missing mechanic, lost in the vast expanse of the sea. What they discover instead is chilling. A large oil slick staining the surface, and drifting eerily nearby, an empty life raft. No sign of the mechanic, no clues to explain the mystery, just silence and the uneasy pull of the waves. But this isn't just another story of a missing sailor. This disappearance has a deeper, stranger twist. At the heart of it lies the woman in this photo. What really happened to the homesick mechanic? This is the story of an intoxicated mechanic who seemingly pulls off an impossible heist. Welcome back. It all began on the night of May 23rd. While most of England was asleep, a 60-ton C-130 Hercules cargo plane thundered down the runway at RAF Mildenhall Air Base in Suffolk. But this wasn't an ordinary flight. In the cockpit, the person at the controls wasn't a trained pilot. He was a mechanic. And to make matters worse, he was heavily intoxicated. This is the incredible story of a drunken mechanic and an audacious flight that would baffle everyone. The man in the cockpit is 23-year-old U.S. Air Force mechanic Sergeant Paul Meyer. The mere thought of an untrained mechanic attempting to commandeer a 60-ton C-130 Hercules cargo plane is beyond belief. Earlier that evening, Meyer had been drinking heavily at a house party, his behavior growing erratic and aggressive as the night went on. Fueled by a combination of alcohol and heartbreak, Meyer made a desperate, audacious decision. He was determined to see his wife. There was just one problem. She was nearly 4,000 miles away in Virginia. Meyer went rogue. In the quiet hours of the night, he impersonated a high-ranking officer and called the base, demanding a C-130 Hercules be fueled up and made ready for takeoff. Remarkably, the dispatcher complied. Perhaps it wasn't hesitation or carelessness. When a call comes through from what seems to be a commanding officer, questioning the order isn't seen as an option. The chain of command demands compliance, especially in such high-pressure environments. Fueled by a dangerous mix of desperation and determination, but with absolutely no flight training, Meyer climbed into the cockpit of the massive military aircraft. Without hesitation, he took off, against all odds, into the night. But that was no easy feat. In the cockpit of the C-130, what immediately stands out is the sheer number of gauges and instruments required to get the massive plane airborne. A pilot must know exactly which dial is the altimeter, which one indicates airspeed, and how to read the attitude indicator. The overwhelming array of controls and data demands not just training, but expertise. It's a daunting amount of information to process, even for a seasoned professional, let alone someone with no flight experience. Nevertheless, Meyer begins flying west toward the United States. As the Air Force realizes something is amiss, they scramble a fighter jet and another C-130 to intercept him. Official reports indicate they never managed to establish contact. Meanwhile, Meyer is focused on something unexpected. Mid-flight, the runaway sergeant makes a puzzling call to his wife, Jane Meyer. For 45 minutes, they talk, until the conversation takes an unsettling turn. Meyer's mood begins to shift, and suddenly he tells Jane that he's run into trouble. Moments later, the line goes dead. What follows remains shrouded in mystery, sparking intense controversy and speculation. However, one fact remains certain. An hour and 45 minutes after takeoff, the C-130 crashes into the cold waters of the English Channel. The military maintains that the plane disintegrated upon impact, but countless questions still linger. Chief among them, How did Sergeant Meyer manage to acquire the technical know-how to not only take off but also fly the massive C-130 for over 90 minutes? Consider it this way. A pilot might understand the basics of maintaining an aircraft, just as a mechanic could learn the fundamentals of flying. Meyer, with his background as a mechanic, may have gleaned just enough knowledge over time to taxi, take off, and maintain flight. Those countless cockpit dials, while intimidating to most, could have been familiar to Meyer through sheer exposure. It's possible he pieced together enough insight to pull off this daring and unprecedented feat. Retired Officer Preston Stewart, who has closely studied the case, suggests a chilling possibility. Many believe the Air Force scrambled that fighter jet not to assist Meyer, but to shoot him down. This theory arises because Meyer didn't just take any plane. He may have commandeered one carrying sensitive documents or aircraft itself with advanced technology, something that could have posed a significant national security risk. One hypothesis is that the C-130 Meyer took might have been linked to the CIA. It's speculated that the aircraft may have been transporting classified documents or technology that the United States, Britain, NATO, or other allied forces couldn't afford to let fall into the wrong hands. This theory has gained traction over the years, especially with Meyer's family, who have long believed there was more to the story than what the official records reveal. But why didn't the government reveal the full truth? Journalist M.J. Banias offers a different perspective. According to him, Sergeant Meyer was most likely not shot down. The Air Force's intention may have been to communicate with Meyer, providing him with instructions to safely land the plane or ditch it in a secure location to avoid harm. One of the biggest clues lies in the mysterious call Meyer made from the cockpit to his newlywed wife back home. Despite telecommunications being relatively primitive at the time, Meyer somehow managed to place the call. To accomplish this, the call would have needed to be patched through radio frequencies, something he couldn't have done alone. This strongly suggests that the Air Force assisted in making the call. The content of the conversation raises even more questions. Meyer reportedly told his wife that he was flying low to avoid radar detection and assured her that he was coming home. She tried to convince him to turn back, but as their call stretched on, something unusual happened. The United States Air Force allegedly interjected, asking her to keep Meyer talking. Their objective? To use the ongoing call to track his exact location. Whether the Air Force intended to persuade Meyer to land the plane safely or to eliminate the threat altogether, one thing is certain: he never made it home. The radar watch log tells a grim story. At precisely 5:48 a.m., the Southern radar station recorded its last trace of the C-130. Moments later, the massive aircraft vanished from the radar screen, disappearing right here into the early morning sky without a trace. It's very possible that Meyer realized his aircraft was doomed. Instead of attempting a risky water landing, he may have made the desperate choice to open one of the doors and leap out. If he did, he would have plunged into the ice-cold waters below. The frigid ocean would have quickly claimed him, as hypothermia sets in rapidly in such conditions. In a matter of moments, his fight for survival would have come to a tragic end. The United States Air Force officially treated this incident as an accident, closing the case. However, 50 years later, new possibilities have emerged. In 2018, an exciting discovery was made. The wreckage of the C-130 was located by a dive team at the bottom of the English Channel. For Meyer's family, who have spent decades relentlessly seeking answers, there's renewed hope that a planned salvage operation might finally uncover the truth. Remarkably, much of the plane was found largely intact. But this raises more questions. Why did the military claim the plane disintegrated on impact, when divers began their search and found the wreckage within 1 or 2 years of their efforts? Even more puzzling, they never found Meyer's body. This element of the mystery recalls the infamous case of D.B. Cooper, the hijacker who vanished without a trace. Among the wreckage, divers found parts of the plane and a life raft, suggesting that Meyer might have survived the crash. While the theory is speculative, it's not impossible.